Here I am in Azure, and I'm going to show you how to build a text analytics cognitive services API. So let's go ahead and do a search for text analytics. As you can see here, we're going to create a text analytics API reference. Let's go ahead and name it LQTA example. Oh, it requires a dash. Free trial, location, where I put everything else is US East. And we're going to select the AI demos resource group. Let's go ahead and click on create. You can see our deployment is underway. And our deployment is conceded, and let's go ahead and go to the resource. So here's the API key to authenticate. Here's the endpoint that we're particularly going to use. And notice there's an API console that we can use to go ahead and play with things. We'll go ahead and open up a text edit document. I'm going to copy our key and copy our endpoint, just so I have it available. So now that I've got a cognitive services API text analytics endpoint, let's go ahead and see how to call that in Python. So notice that I'm going to install requests for my API call. We're going to make sure it's upgraded to the latest version. We're going to import requests, and then to print out the JSON in a nice way, we're going to do a pprint. We're going to store our subkey into a Python variable. We're going to reference our base URL as an environmental variable and set the sentiment analysis URL to that plus text analytics version 2.1 sentiment. The documents that we're going to send across that we're going to save into this documents variable is a dictionary. So you can see we've got documents, ID1 language English, and then I've got the first verse to Don McLean's American Pie. In order to implement our requests, we're going to specify a header where we store our subkey. And then we're going to do a request.post where we send the API URL, the headers, and the JSON reference that's saved in this documents variable. And we're going to save that our response.json into a sentiments variable. And we're going to do a pprint on that. And you can see that the first verse of Don McLean's American Pie comes back with a sentiment score of 0.15. So it's not a very happy song. So let's break each line down individually. So you can see that I've changed my particular reference. It looks like I got an error right there, and I needed that extra comma. So notice that I've changed my IDs in every single line in the first line of American Pie by Don McLean is now being passed separately. Let's go ahead and run this. I forgot my comma here. And let's go ahead and run this. A long time ago, 0.86. And if I had my chance, I could make those people dance, 0.88. But February made me shiver, 0.27. Bad news on the doorstep, 0.07. I can't remember if I cried, 0.07. And something touched me deep inside the day the music died, 0.11. If I change the structure of my JSON just a little bit, we can also do language detection. So, of course, we're not going to include a language metadata in my new document. So ID1 text a long time ago, ID2 me gusta el football, and ID3 with the text of Parliva Francais. And we're going to change our URL to text analytics v21 languages. And then we're going to call a response.json. And then we're going to redo a response to call the language API. But I specifically sit here and name the language API. We're going to specify the headers. We're going to specify the new document. We're going to save the response in a languages object. And we're going to print the languages object out as well. Got my comma over here. So you can see that the first document came back as English, the second document came back as Spanish, and the third document came back as French. And you can see what your confidence scores there as well. Here's an example of entity analysis. So once again, I've changed my document. Document number 1 is I would like to travel to Paris. Document number 2 is my favorite book is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And document number 3 is would you like to visit the Statue of Liberty in New York City? I've changed my API reference to /v1 v2.1 entities. I've changed my API call to text analytics v2.1 entities. We've called that in our request and saved that into a languages API. We've done a post on a request and saved that into a languages object. Let's go ahead and do a preprint of that. And you can see that we've got Paris. That's a location. We've got The Hobbit, which is a book, and we've got the reference to the book. We've got J.R.R. Tolkien, which was a person, and we've got a Wikipedia URL. We've got the Statue of Liberty. Notice it's a location. And then again, we have got a Wikipedia article about the Statue of Liberty. And I've got New York City, which is also a location.